AI data centers, private power or public infrastructure.
Today, we're looking at something that's quietly becoming one of the biggest structural shifts in tech: AI data centers, and who ends up controlling them, private companies or the public sector. Because at this point, AI isn't just software anymore, it's physical infrastructure.
Yeah, and that's the key shift. People still think of AI like apps or models, but the real bottleneck is compute, energy, and data centers, and those don't scale cheaply or cleanly.
Exactly. Training and running advanced AI systems requires constant expansion: more chips, more cooling, more electricity, more land. It's not a one-time build, it's a perpetual build cycle. So the real question becomes, who can sustain that indefinitely?
And that's where I started questioning the purely private model. Even the biggest tech companies are running massive capital expenditures just to stay ahead. In some cases, they're leaning on debt, long term infrastructure commitments, and aggressive expansion just to keep pace. At some point, that stops looking like a company product and starts looking like a national scale utility.
But that's where the debate comes in. Because historically, when something becomes that large, like electricity grids, railroads, or telecom, it doesn't stay purely private forever. Not because of ideology, but because of scale. The system naturally pushes toward regulation, oversight, and sometimes shared public investment.
And we're already seeing early signals of that. Governments aren't just regulating AI anymore, they're investing in the ecosystem around it. Energy expansion, chip supply chains, research funding, even discussions around national security framing for AI systems. That's a different level of involvement than we've seen in previous tech waves.
And there's actually a really strong historical parallel here if we zoom out. If you look back at nuclear development, especially the early days around the Manhattan Project, it started with intense scientific and engineering breakthroughs driven in a highly concentrated state-backed effort. After that, the technology didn't stay purely in that original form. It evolved into civilian applications like nuclear energy, where governments played a major role in regulation, safety, and infrastructure. The pattern is interesting. A breakthrough starts concentrated, then scales into strategic importance, then becomes partially governed or shared as infrastructure.
And I think that's the analogy people are reaching for with AI. Not that it's identical, but that when something becomes strategically critical at that scale, it stops behaving like a normal market product. It becomes something closer to national infrastructure.
But it's important not to jump straight to government control equals full takeover. It's usually more subtle than that. What tends to happen is a hybrid structure. Private companies still build and innovate, governments stabilize, fund, and set guardrails, and infrastructure becomes shared in practice, even if not formally owned.
Yeah, more like AI becoming a utility layer. Companies might not own intelligence outright, they might just access it, build on top of it, or rent compute and model access from a broader system.
So the real shift we're talking about isn't just private versus public. It's, is AI becoming a competitive product space or a foundational national infrastructure layer?
And if the trend continues the way it's going, it starts to look less like a pure tech industry and more like power grids plus intelligence merged together.
That's the tension at the center of all this. Not just who builds AI, but who sustains it, who funds it, and who ultimately governs the backbone it runs on. And we're still early in that answer.
Yeah, early, but the direction is starting to get a lot clearer. That's all for this podcast. I'm Kyle. Thanks for listening in, everyone.
And I'm Savannah. Until next time.